again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Brian Christopher Koberger has been arrested. He was arrested and arraigned this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Brian Koberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says a tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latex gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show, the DT Show. I'm Daniel, and today we have a new show coming up for you guys. We're going to be talking a twofer, so to speak. We have the Nancy Guthrie updates, and we also have some updates in the David case that we're going to be going over and talking about. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. You guys know what to do. Without further ado, let's bring in our guests today. We have 2 of them. We have former current friend of the show, Dr. Jamie Vona. How's it going?
You just
Doctor?
said former. I'm coming to Texas and finding you.
Yeah, it's been a long week for me. How's it going?
Joking, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. A little bit better than I've been, but still hanging in there, still kicking. Good. And we have another guest coming in, Flojo TV. Flojo, how's it going, my man?
Doing good. How you doing? How's everybody? Dr. Vona, good to see you.
Hi, Flojo. So excited to do this with you guys.
I know, me too.
Should be a good show. We have 2 topics that we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss the Nancy Guthrie case. We're going to discuss also the David case. Let's start off first with, I guess we can start off with the Nancy Guthrie case. There's been a lot of, Harvey from TMZ came out earlier. Let me, I don't know if you guys have seen what he shared earlier. Have y'all seen the update he did?
No, I'm excited to look.
All right, let's pull it up, and then that way we can react to it. And then also kind of give you guys we'll share our input on it. So this is the update from TMZ earlier.
There is some interesting information, not just about Nancy Guthrie, but about Savannah Guthrie. So there's been a lot of talk about how does she come back to the Today Show as long as things are unresolved. And the reality is, and our law enforcement sources are saying this, that this case could be unresolved for months, even years.
So this case could be unresolved for months, even years. In fact, I think he goes on to say
before they find Nancy Guthrie. That is just a stark reality right now. The FBI does not have any solid leads, nor does the Pima County Sheriff's Office. They don't. And they are at a point now where this is becoming a cold case.
So they are at a point where this is becoming a cold case. So, that tells me a couple of things. If this is accurate, now I don't know why, if law enforcement or sources of, I don't know why they would be feeding him false information if they had a suspect in mind. Maybe perhaps to get somebody to lighten up a little bit, but I don't know. I don't see the avenue of how this would favor law enforcement. But what do you guys think? We'll start off with you, Dr. Vona. Are you surprised at this point?
When I heard him, I did hear this part somewhere, and when I heard this, I just was like, oh, if I were the Guthrie family, that would be alarming to me, the fact that they even said that it could be years. I don't know. That part just hit different. How about you, Flojo?
I mean, I find it hard to believe, right? With almost 50,000 leads that Pima County has received, the FBI has received, and they're almost at the point of exhausting every single one of them. And not to mention, they just increased the reward to $1 million, right? And some. And so I would imagine that thousands more leads would have came in. So cold case, sucks to hear.
It does. It kind of tells me also, though, that maybe perhaps the DNA in the house that everybody was hoping on, it maybe didn't come back to anything. Now, like I said, I'm holding on hope that maybe perhaps law enforcement have an idea of somebody, and maybe they're just trying to make that guy comfortable. Maybe they're having a problem locating the guy and they want him to surface. You know what I'm saying? I mean, those are the possibilities of them being, dishonest about this and putting this out there. Because I don't see the advantage of it either. Even if it is accurate, I don't see why a law enforcement official should, tell TMZ that the case is going cold. But maybe perhaps the only other thing I could think of is maybe they feel that the Pima Sheriff County needs to let go of the reins a little bit and maybe let somebody else take over. And maybe that's why they're putting out some of these things.
I agree with that.
I've been thinking about this since day one, right? Why haven't they just let FBI take over?
They probably should have at this point.
It's probably an ego thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And again, be.
Right. And again, this is coming from TMZ. So do take it with a grain of salt. These are the same guys that said, we're not going to air out any more ransom notes. And then 12 hours later, we got another ransom note. And so it's not been 100% accurate, but they've, been pretty spot on certain things. Let's continue to hear what he has to say.
So Savannah Guthrie acknowledged this in her last video, that it would take a miracle for her mom to be alive at this point. And there are realities to all of this. This is a very religious family. Nancy Guthrie was very religious. And, the closure of finding Nancy, whether she's alive or not, is something this family clearly needs. I mean, you see this written all over Savannah's face, as she's spoken over the last month. And she's not getting that closure. And so the question, what does she do? Does she come back to the Today Show and just, as they say, put on a happy face?
What do you guys think about that? Like, she's got I know that they bring on a guest here in a little bit, and the guest is like, I wouldn't go back to work until my mom was found. I'm not going to go that far into this conversation that's way back here, but I don't see it as something that's nefarious or wrong. She's got to, I don't know. Do you think it's too soon? We'll start off with you, Dr. Jamie Vona. It's kind of almost your forte. When is it too soon for somebody to start to move along, or is it dangerous for somebody's mental health to stay in a certain mindset while their mom's missing?
This is such a great question, and for everybody it differs. For most people, it takes about 2 to 5 years to properly grieve a death of a loved one. However, when does grief even start, right? Because they can't grieve yet, right? They don't have closure yet. So that gets delayed now. So my thing is this. I think, like, when my dad died, for some reason, I wanted to go to work and stay busy. So I feel like people grieve differently. Where my best friend, when her dad died, she didn't want to get out of bed for 2 months. So it's like everybody's different. And I don't think that there's one proper way to grieve. However, I do remember hearing or reading in one of the articles that she said that she might not be going back at all. So I don't know if you guys heard that, but this is the thing. In my opinion, she's got enough money to, live out her life if she needed to. God bless her. So if she doesn't want to go back, then nobody should force her. And maybe she wants to go back in a year or two, or maybe she wants to go back tomorrow. You know what I mean? But no matter what, we should support whatever it is that she thinks is best for her own mental health.
I agree. I couldn't say it better. If that's what she needs to do, then that's what she needs to do. Everybody grieves differently. Anything to add there, Flo Joe?
I remember hearing yesterday in some other show that I was watching, they were saying that she had already gone through the 5 stages of grief, and they said that you can tell by her last video, with obviously the last part of grief being acceptance, right? And because of the words that she used, they were saying that she's already come to the conclusion or the acceptance that her mother may not be alive. Now, I beg to differ, right? So I totally agree with what you said, Dr. Vona, but I found it really interesting that they had mentioned that they've already gone through all the stages. I'm curious what you think about that, Dr. Vona.
There's 5 stages of death and dying, and we focus on them via Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's research. And the 5 stages, I don't know that, I mean, I say everybody grieves differently, but it seems like that's rather quickly to get through all 5 stages, especially when you don't have closure yet, really. So, I mean, she could be going through denial still, do you know what I mean? So she could still be in stage 1, and that's probably it. She's probably still in denial. So I think eventually when the news starts to go away and the podcasters start to go home and stuff like that, that's when people need to be there to support her, because then she might go into, you know, another stage, whether she gets to depression, bargaining. So I don't know. I just think that we just need to be supportive. Depression, she's going to go through a lot of things, I think, before she gets to acceptance. So, and again, that could just be part of it. She might feel that, like right now, like whatever she's saying, she probably does feel in the moment. It just means, that doesn't mean that in 3 weeks or 3 months that she's not going to then get depressed about it and it hit her different.
I was going to say, doesn't a person, can't they go through the phases at different times and go
they
back
can,
and
and you could go, yep, absolutely. That is such a great point. That's why I said she's going to be going through different stages, but that is such a great point. It's not a linear fashion anymore. Like we realize that people go through different stages, and that sometimes they bounce from, you know, they might feel like they're in acceptance that day and then go to depression. So people do go through the different stages differently, but I would be surprised if she was at acceptance already. There's nothing to accept yet. Do you know what I mean?
Very true. I do find it fascinating that, NBC has come out and said that they're not applying any pressure to her to come back. So, which is nice to hear, right?
That's so good.
Another thing that I also found surprising too is that
so much so.
The ratings on NBC since her mother has gone missing have skyrocketed 23%. So
that's probably why they're not giving her a problem about not coming back. Because as of right now, their ratings haven't been affected. If anything, they've gotten better.
Probably so. And we have a couple of super chats coming in. We have $4.99 from Tipsy Gypsy, and we have $2 for Hey Everyone from Misty Sharings. Thank you guys. You guys are supporting the channel and the group. It's from either FloJo's or Dr. Jamie Vona's channel. I'm not sure which one, but thank you guys. Let's continue.
And, push this to the side for 2 hours a day, or not. And if she decides to come back, when does she do that? And does she address it if she comes back? She's going to have to say something. But it is a shadow, a cloud that will be cast over her. You can just feel it as you watch her.
Now, let me fast forward, because I think
that they are giving her the space she needs right now.
They're just talking about that, but there's more that
you
comes
could say
out.
Is it's up in the air that Savannah may come back. She may come back in 2 weeks. She may not come back. We don't know. She hasn't said. That we're driving a couple of miles from the Nancy Guthrie. A video surfaced the other day of a dozen cars that were driving a couple of miles from the residence of Nancy Guthrie in the hours after the kidnapping. Because we know that's when the Google video from the Nest camera captured this person at Nancy's front door. So that is at 2:12 when the Google search of the Nest camera revealed this man at Nancy's door. So he's there. Now, 2.5 miles away, there's a road, and there are cars going back and forth. One of them, the first one, you see past 19 minutes after that video was taken. So theoretically, 19 minutes would be long enough for somebody perhaps to go inside, take Nancy, put her in a car, and drive those 2.5 miles. So it is possible, in terms of time, that one of those cars could be the kidnapper's car. And there were a dozen of these cars, in that period of time. But the first of which, 19 minutes after the person was on that doorstep.
And from what I understand, it was like 8 minutes after the pacemaker had disconnected from the app. believe what he's going to end up saying is law enforcement don't believe anything, is connected to it. It's kind of long-winded here, but I believe what he's trying to say here is that there was nothing connected there between this vehicle and the other, and the crime, that they don't believe they're connected. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know. You said about the 8 minutes, and I think it takes 7 minutes to get from her house to here, so that would fit. And it looks like this person's driving really fast. I don't know. I think it could be. I think it would be. It would be like a disservice or whatever not to look into it.
I agree. They should definitely look into it. If they are dismissing it, I wonder if there's a camera somewhere between the Guthrie residence and this residence that is capturing something that makes it impossible for it to have been them. Whether it's this vehicle coming from a different direction than turning this way, that's not from the Guthrie residence, or perhaps it's supposed to show up, on camera if it's coming from that direction and it doesn't. I wonder if that's the case.
Eventually. We'll have to look at the maps eventually to see how many different pathways there are to get from her house to here. Like if there, remember like with the King Road or whatever, there was like one way in, one way out type thing. So like, I wonder what it's like with this, what's the probability pretty much of it being this car?
True. What do you think, FloJo?
I mean, what you said earlier absolutely makes sense too. If they're not really taking this serious, something tells me that they already have their eye on another vehicle, and that's why they're probably not taking it serious. But I mean, at this point, who knows? Every day you wake up, there's something new. I do question why it's taken about a month for this footage to come out. That's what I'm curious about.
I believe that the homeowners of this property released it out to a few places.
They did. They released it to Fox News, and they said that that the police never came around, like law enforcement never came around and asked anybody for their footage. At least not that they were aware of, which is why. But I wonder if they tried to give it to law enforcement and they didn't take it, and that's why they gave it to Fox News. I don't know how that worked out though.
I'm not sure. But let's see. Let's continue. I think this is where he kind of says it.
Yeah. Our FBI sources say that this is a dead end, that the placement of the road against Nancy's house makes no sense, that it's the opposite direction from anything. And they have looked also at the ingress and egress around that road, and they have already looked at this and said, there is nothing here. So even though it seems enticing to see that car go by, the FBI, we're told, has already made a decision that there is no real lead produced by the video.
That's the FBI, so it's not coming in from the sheriff's department. So I'm more on the lines of saying, all right, this is probably nothing.
So I don't know. So I did like a whole chat GPT with like breaking down this car to see if it was, because there's two directions that the car goes in. First, it goes to the left, then it goes to the right. So I was asking ChatGPT, and I did it on a couple of different AIs after that, and they all said that there was a high probability that the car that goes this way and then this way could have been the same car. Would that mean anything more? Because that would mean that car went in and then came out, and it looks like it's going pretty fast.
It would have had to have gone in like 45 minutes or like quite a bit of sometimes earlier, because I think he was at that house for 40 plus minutes. And so it would have to have gone in at that time. But, the more I think about this crime, the more I think that this guy is a lot more equipped, like to have committed this crime, knowledge wise, training, maybe perhaps preparation wise than I may have given him credit to in the beginning. I think this guy may even be a step or two ahead of, like, for instance, Brian Koberger, as far as planning and taking steps ahead of time, which brings me to some interesting points that myself and Steve from True Crime Web, who I saw in the building in the chat room a minute ago. So thank you, Steve, for stopping by. We had been discussing a couple of things, and the more and the longer this goes on, and the more that law enforcement are stumped, the more I'm starting to really think in one direction. But This is some images of the vehicle that had passed by. Believe it's a lot of people are saying it's a Kia Soul.
It's not, I don't think. I did like a whole thing. Like, I really looked into this, and I don't remember exactly, but I went over everything with like ChatGPT, and wait, let me see. And it literally gave me like a million reasons why it wasn't the Kia Soul. Like everything from, wait, I'm seeing if it comes up really quick with my, let's see.
Do you think it's an Elantra?
Guess what? So the Elantra was one of the vehicles that it said it could be, Daniel. I swear to God, I was like, but if you look up a Range Rover Sport, that too fits. And so does some crossover, also fits. Oh, Kia Soul. Okay, yes, the Soul is boxy, but boxy in the wrong way. The Kia Soul is tall, but it's short and upright, almost like a rolling cube. What your footage shows is a longer, flatter side panel, a body that stays horizontal through the frame, proportions that suggest length plus height, not just height. The Soul's side profile is stubby, not stretched. And then it gives me like pictures and stuff. And it just keeps going on, but it says that it's most likely a crossover of some sort. But then also, if you look, it gave me a bunch of cars to look up, but one of them was a Range Rover Sport.
I had a Range Rover Sport. I don't know that doesn't. That looks a little short. I had a Range Rover. I think it was a Sport.
There was a few things.
Yeah.
But the Elantra was one of them that came up that it was a possibility, and I almost died. I was like, oh my gosh. I told our chat, I was like, if anybody in chat owns an Elantra, we could talk afterwards if you need to.
It's also in slow motion, so it might be stretched out.
That's true with the motion.
That's what ChatGPT said.
When I first saw the video earlier this morning, the first car that came to mind was a Kia Soul, right? And then actually when I saw it this afternoon, I had to rewatch it back, and to me, I almost thought it was a Range Rover Velar, one of the newer models.
The littler ones, right?
Yeah, the smaller ones. Yep.
That's why I didn't know what the smaller one was, so I just put in sporty Range Rover. So it probably is the one that you said. I don't even know that there is a Range Rover Sport.
The Velar,
I just put in sporty Range Rover. But that's
like
probably the one that I thought it was.
Yeah, that's the one like Steve Gonsalves's daughter Keely had gotten. She had just bought. Was that littler compact one? I mean, it could be that. I don't know. I mean, if the FBI is coming out and saying that we've looked into it, we don't think that it's the vehicle. I don't understand why they would come out with that. Why would they denounce it? Now, let's rephrase that. They haven't yet. Somebody from the FBI told Harvey from TMZ that. So the FBI has not officially come out and said that this vehicle is not, associated. So, but if TMZ sources are correct and this vehicle is not associated, why? I don't see a purpose for them to say that. I would think that they would want the vehicle out there so that they can try to, get more information from people like, hey, do you know anybody who's gone missing that drives this type of vehicle, who's been acting weird that drives this type of vehicle? It's really an opposite action of what you would expect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but could that be like a defense mechanism so that they have more time to try to figure out who or what car this is?
No, you want to try to figure it out as fast as possible. And if somebody
that's what I mean. Like, could they be trying to say that it doesn't have anything to do with it, so that the person driving this car, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like, if the person driving this car, so that they don't tip them off that they're onto them.
I don't think so, because if they were that onto them, then well, one, they wouldn't. I mean, they'd be eyes on him, but like, if they're afraid that this guy's going to flee because his vehicle is shown, well, that might give them a tip that was the guy. So for instance, if let's just say, Blojo citizen that committed this crime sees this vehicle and he's like, oh man, they got me, and then takes off and disappears. And then now you have his coworkers, friends, and family members who are reporting him missing. And then they start looking into him, and you might find some sort of clue or find something that would connect. So I don't see an advantage of turning it down if it was real.
Makes sense.
What I was thinking about too, though, is that TMZ was the first outlet to put this video out there too. And so the very next day they came back and said, actually, well, it's got nothing to do with it. That's what our sources told us.
Yeah.
So, and TMZ is not really the type of outlet to kind of go back on their word. So that was found it a little skeptical.
They did that a little bit with David's case too, right? At first they were like all kinds of gung-ho, and then all of a sudden they like backed off.
Well, not necessarily, because if you remember, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah.
But there was a part where they just doubled down on it, right? They said, no, in fact,
that's what I mean. That's what I meant. Like they wound up, like at first when everybody was looking into it, we were all like, oh, what's going on? And then all of a sudden they were like, not backed off. I don't mean like that. I mean backed off of the fact that maybe it was David. Because wasn't there another lawyer or something that they knew? And so I agree with you. We'll get to that, I'm sure.
All right, so this is somebody else reporting something different, though. This is Jennifer Coffindaffer, former FBI agent. We've had her on the channel. She's put up here that reporter sources said vehicle below may not be a dead end, which contradicts other source reporting. Guess there's more to one linking insider. Pima County PIO said investigators are actively reviewing surveillance video from vehicles traveling in the Catalina foothills, including areas further from the Guthrie residence. Homeowners in the surrounding community are encouraged to submit relevant footage. So this is somebody that is reporting something different. This is news for Tucson.
John Macaluso once again outside of the home of Nancy Guthrie. Not a whole lot of changes today have been announced by the FBI or PCSD, but here at the home, we have noticed a couple of things. Now, the neighborhood's still closed down to parking. No trespassing signs are still aligning the property, but in addition to that, if you can see it behind me here, we've got a new sign right about there. It's a Simply Safe security system sign. Those were installed a little bit earlier today around 12:30 p.m. So that's really one of the only new developments here. Another thing is that we have been observing a black truck and a white Wagoneer enter and leaving the premises behind this PCSD vehicle right here. And it's just, they've both just been coming and going throughout the day. In fact, we did observe them doing the same yesterday. In addition to that, we are also continuing to follow this video that appeared last night showing a vehicle driving around this area at about 2:30 a.m. the night Nancy disappeared. That's something we're keeping an eye out on because a source with law enforcement tells us that that video not quite yet named a dead end. So we're continuing to keep an eye on that. Of course, we'll have more information for you at home at kvoa.com. Reporting in the Catalina foothills, John Macaluso, News 4 Tucson.
So not yet quite a dead end, according to some local law news media. No, I would tend to believe local media. What do you think?
Go ahead, Doc.
I don't know. I think either. I don't know. I go with like what I think more than anything. So I don't know. Because it could go either way, right? It's like 50-50 if you think about it. What do you think?
It is.
I know. I definitely think that there's probably something there. You know, if TMZ was willing to put it out, you know, on their platform and say that they have something, you know, that there probably is. I mean, despite what people think of TMZ, whether they like them or they don't, you know, what they believe, what they say, a lot of times they're more correct than they aren't, right?
I agree with that.
Well, it depends on what the article
it does
is.
depend, I guess.
It depends on who the news is on.
Exactly.
You know, if it's a friend of Harvey, it may be swayed a little bit. I'll be honest with you. There's several reports of his that have been swayed in certain things. In fact, his name came up in a recent lot of emails. I don't know if you guys are following that. That he could have been used in a positive light for a certain guy that owned a certain island if things were to get out of hand. I don't know if you guys were aware of that.
Wait, what? Say that again.
There was an island that sparked a lot of controversy. I think you've been talking about the guy that.
Yeah.
Apparently in some emails he names Harvey as a guy that could maybe twist the media a little bit if things were to ever go bad.
Shut up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't know. Depends on what it's about is what I'm trying to say. Just depends on what it's about.
Sure.
And we haven't seen an article on TMZ about that either, right?
No, he stayed way away from that.
Yeah, right. He doesn't want to associate his name if he doesn't have to. I'm sure.
That might be what we talk about in the next one is these files, because that's a whole wild thing as well. But Pima County sheriffs did bring out something earlier this week, and I wanted to get you guys' opinion. We're aware of doorbell images released earlier in the investigation depicting a suspect in different stages of attire, including with and without a backpack. There is no date or timestamp associated with these images. Therefore, any suggestion that the photographs were taken on different days is purely speculative. This remains an active and ongoing criminal investigation. As with many investigations, conclusions will be guided with verifiable evidence and established facts. Speculation without factual support does not advance the investigation process. I found this interesting. Like, let's just say that, first and foremost, do you guys believe that those two images were taken on two different nights? The one with the backpack and the one without?
So I was watching something where like they took like stills from it and they were trying to make the argument that it was. And I like saw what they were saying, but then I don't think I really know. I think I'm here for the psychology part of it. So I'm going to defer this one to you two.
What do you think, Flojo? Do you think it was the same night?
I think it was. I think it's very possible, especially if this may be a potentially targeted incident. Why not come back and canvass it a second time?
Well, I mean, I know. So somebody was saying that there was the moon situation, and then the jacket doesn't look the same, but I think it is the same jacket. The gun is missing from the front of the of his front area. He doesn't have the gun, and the backpack is also missing. But that doesn't mean that he may have. So we only see he's out there for a while, but we only see a few seconds. So who's to say he didn't take the backpack off and the gun off at some point
and come back
and return to the front? Yeah, that's and there just so happened to be a cloud at that time, which is why the moon doesn't look so bright. Now, he could have been there before. Now, I've talked to Steve about this in depth. Steve from True Crime Web, former CSI investigator, and the more I think about this, and the more that I think about how this guy hasn't gotten caught, right? There's almost a expert aspect to this. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. So some of these things that I think people were looking at, that, oh man, that's a rookie move. Oh, this guy hasn't done this before because look at where he carries the gun. I don't think that's accurate anymore. I think he wanted us to see the gun. I think he wanted everybody to know he was carrying a gun. This was to instill fear.
I was going to say, even if not for everybody else, for Nancy, right? To like do what it is that he says.
Oh, I think he knew this video was going to leak out.
Okay.
And I think he wanted people to see him. I think he wanted to instill fear. What does that tell you about somebody? If that was the case, Dr. Bona, if this person wanted to instill fear or wanted people to see him, this was a message. This was, the Zodiac had a hood, had the Zodiac symbol on him. What does that say about this person? Because I'm starting to think that this is more fantasy driven than this was some sort of ransom, some sort of burglary for hire, something like that.
So I'm so glad that you asked me this, because I did an entire live on this where I too, Daniel, you're going to be so surprised. And I think I gave you like props on my live about I was putting things together or whatever. But I have a feeling, and this is just my opinion, you guys, that we're going to find that this is someone who had a revenge of some sort. And again, this is just my opinion, you guys, where it's like a parasocial relationship. This is the thing, Daniel. This person, if that's the case and you're wanting to instill fear, that's a sadistic thing to do. That's very antisocial behavior. So that just says to me, this is one of the reasons I never thought that the person took her for like ransom type thing, because somebody that antisocial wouldn't still have her alive today. You know what I mean? They're not going to do pro-social things like go get her medicine from CVS so that she's okay. Do you know? So I always... So not always. I was thinking about this more and more. And if there was a parasocial relationship of some sort, which I'm starting to think, and now I started to do the Google Trends, which everybody should watch out for that because I found some stuff. I'm starting to wonder if this was, so either this person has, in my opinion, has a straight financial interest in this house and situation, or they have some form of parasocial relationship where they're getting revenge of some sort against, whether it be Savannah or, but the thing here is that she would have never known about it. It would have been one way, a fantasy, right? It would have been a fantasy. And maybe they can't get to her. Maybe they've tried. Who knows? When I did the Google Trends, it was off the charts. When I looked up in Arizona, it came up, and I looked up Savannah Guthrie's address. Like, I literally put in the word Savannah Guthrie's address. I didn't put in her actual address, and it was like off the roof. So somebody was looking for where she lived. And then I did put in Nancy Guthrie's exact address and got a huge hit on that too. But I didn't get any hits on Nancy Guthrie's name. I did get them on Savannah Guthrie's name. And again, a lot of this is localized to Arizona. That also almost validates that this could have been somebody with a parasocial relationship. And again, that would just be a relationship that somebody thinks they have with someone else, whether the other person knows about it or not. So it's something online or through the TV, stuff of that nature. Either that or it's something completely financial, and it's going to be like somebody they know, in my opinion. It's like one or the other type thing here. But I don't think it's like some Mexican cartel that's holding her for ransom.
No, I don't think it's the Mexican cartel that's holding her for ransom. I'm starting to, the longer this takes, the less likely, in my opinion, it's somebody that they know, just because those people would come up in the investigation when you're doing a victimology, when you're doing a background check into people that you know, where they were, who drives a certain type of car, etc. And so I don't think it's going to go down that route, but I just can't shake off the feeling that this is somebody who has probably had some sort of like fantasy about Savannah and is playing it off with her mom because he had access.
Exactly.
There.
That's what I'm saying. Right. But he might have tried to get access to Savannah, and she probably has a ton of security. So her kids probably have a ton of security as well. So, you know what I mean? So then what's the next thing? Her mother.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she was vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Flojo? What do you think about the presentation here? Do you think this was to instill fear? Do you think this was to send a message to somebody? Do you think this was to, I mean,
absolutely think that this person did want to be seen, right? I mean, just look at him. He's wearing a full body cover, right? From the mask, the long sweater to the pants. There's probably a million neighbors that have cameras on their doors. He has his pistol right there, tucked in front of his legs. This guy wanted to be seen, and I have no doubt that this guy was, wouldn't think twice about causing any harm, right? If he just wanted to get in. I'm still curious about how he got in, but I definitely know that he wasn't scared to cause any harm to her.
I have a question, you guys. Didn't he take the Ring camera off?
It wasn't there, so we assume that.
When I watched on Megyn Kelly's show that she bought or had someone on her team buy a Ring camera so that they could do an experiment, and they take it off, and here, you guys, it still runs for a while after you take it off. And there's audio too, so there could be something that they can pull from there. Probably more than, like you said, we only saw a few seconds of it. There's probably a lot more that we didn't see, but I'm wondering if there's anything from once they pull it off that makes them know that she was part of an abduction, or just something that to where they feel like they have more information. I'm curious.
I wonder, I wouldn't be surprised. They're going to hold on to a lot of stuff, only going to release a little bit of information. He may have smashed it. He may have disarmed it. He may have taken the battery out of it, if he was aware of how it worked. One of the things that bothered me a lot, and I was talking with Steve about this, is one, they didn't pick up, we know he handled these. He had a bite light. So at one point he had to take that thing in and out of his mouth. There's a possibility of saliva on these, and they left that there. They left the mat there. I don't know. I'm not too thrilled about this investigation so far. But it's yeah. I mean, like I said, I think this guy, because he could have even covered the gun with his jacket, but he doesn't. He has it tucked behind it. He wants that gun to be seen.
Well, sure. Isn't this also a holster that's meant to go inside of your pants or something?
It can.
Just
I'm
the
not.
fact that he has it out like that, it literally.
Well, it's also an incorrect holster, right? This is supposed to be a holster for a revolver, and he's got a semi-automatic pistol. So I don't know if
I didn't
that
know
doesn't
that.
scream attention, you know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then that's why a lot of people were looking at this and saying, "Man, this guy's an amateur. He doesn't know what he's doing," but he's not gotten caught. And so,
would he be right-handed, you guys, because of the way that is? I'm not really good with like.
I would assume so, because the way the
yeah, I don't know how that works.
The handle's facing. I can't think of the dang name of it, but yeah. And you know what? I was trying it positioned with a gun in front of you.
Oh my God!
It's not bad. It's actually like to pull it out and the point. It's not an uncomfortable gesture. You know, it's an uncomfortable position to be walking around with it and stuff. But if you had to maneuver it out quickly and face it somewhere, it's not bad. But yeah, I think it's 100% for show. I think he has it tucked out. He has his sweater tucked behind it so that you can see it and that you can see it's there. You know, I think the get up, I think everything, I think it's all for show. Like he wanted to send fear.
It's not lost on me that it's in front of his junk. So it's almost like that gives you power, right? So it's like right there. And that's like power and fear. Something always phallic with these guys. What the hell?
Don't know. I don't know.
But had a field day with this guy.
Yeah, I just think that this dude is this guy's gonna end up being somebody who has a history of some stuff. I mean, but then again, I mean, if they don't have, I know they have some DNA there. I just don't know if the DNA that they have is going to end up being something that's associated with the crime. Like just because there's DNA in the house doesn't mean, unless it's like blood or semen or something like that, and that's a different story.
They put it through like the crime things, right? So if they didn't find it, I mean, that doesn't mean obviously that he hasn't committed a crime before. But does that make him less of like a career type criminal? Because wouldn't he have been caught at some point if he was, because I did think about that too. I'm like, is this somebody that, you know, is committing crimes all the time, but wouldn't he be in the system?
It depends.
I mean, not necessarily.
Yeah, it depends on when he committed the crime and what type of crime he committed.
Oh, that's true, Daniel.
You know, if he committed a crime like before 2020, I think he may not be in the system out there in New Mexico. I don't think they started putting in, like, depending on the crime too. And so it just kind of depends. So like if all he did was just like a lot of burglaries and stuff like that, Class B misdemeanor burglary or state jail felony burglaries, burglary of like cars and maybe even residents, if he got caught, see, I was in law enforcement. It was a long time ago. At that point, there was never, you know, DNA submitted for that. The only time you submitted DNA is if you had like a very serious charge, like R or assault or, you know, something very serious.
I also heard too that, you know, depending on what state too, if you're not convicted of the crime, then that DNA doesn't go into CODIS, right? So like in the state of New York, you may get charged or you might be indicted or whatever, but if you're not actually charged for that crime, that DNA doesn't go into CODIS.
Damn.
So
interesting. Flojo, you're in New York.
No. I heard this yesterday on
I got excited for a minute. I was like, you're closer than Daniel. We're gonna have to hang out.
Right now.
Daniel, we're gonna have to get together too someday.
Well, you know, to me, so what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is gonna? You think we're gonna get any answers soon, or do you think TMZ's right and this is heading towards a cold case?
I don't think yet. I still think. I mean, I'm hoping that there's still something, especially if the FBI is on it. I would like to think that there's it's not a cold case yet. But I mean, what the hell do I know? I don't know when it comes to this, so I could be wrong. What do you think, Flojo?
I'm keeping my hopes up. I hope and pray that they're going to bring her home, you know, and help her recover back to, 100% health. But all I can do is hope.
Yeah, that's what everybody's hoping for as well. But I'm just hoping
Unfortunately, I
some
hope
answers.
I
Yeah,
hope she gets home, but I don't. It doesn't look good as far as, in my opinion, like
no,
as
it
far as
don't.
her being alive.
It's low, but one of the I guess a search warrant said that the person may have taken some of her medication. Now, I don't know if that medication would have been exhausted by now, and I don't see this person going out there and getting more. And so I think that's where we're at on it. But hopefully, there's some answers soon. Guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, share the content, guys. We'd appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Now, for the second part of the show, we have another case that we've been talking about quite extensively. The David Burke, Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. There's been some documents that have been dropped here recently. And I kind of wanted to go over it with you guys and get your opinions. Also wanted to get your opinion on a few things also, Dr. Vona, especially when it comes to some of the things that were found. So I'll start off by just kind of reading a few of it. It says here that they were requesting an out-of-state witness, which was DeWad Burke, which is David's father. From what I understand, and I'm going to bring this up now, they've received in confirmation from David's attorney that they have not traveled to Los Angeles to testify before grand jury. The attorney, Kent Schaefer, who represents the Burke family, told Los Angeles, actually, the same day that the court appeals denied our writ, we filed a writ in the court criminal appeals, which granted motion to stay the lower courts. The case is currently pending in the Court of Criminal Appeals. And so they're trying to appeal and not, I guess, have his father go and testify in grand jury, which is interesting because I wonder what his dad knows that they're trying to prevent him from saying. I want to say thank you also to Kel for gifting 1 Drunk Turkey Show membership. And then we have some other memberships as well. Coco Mom gifting 5 Flojo memberships. So thank you guys. So first and foremost, Dr. Vona, Dad's being asked to testify against the son. What do you think he may know? Do you think Dad knows something about this?
I think, and this is just my opinion, I think Dad, I don't know, I think he works something with people that are within the law. So I feel like he would know that I don't know, because I'm trying to put myself in his position. In one sense, you don't want to know anything so that you're not like I might even tell the kid, like, don't tell me anything type thing. Or on the other hand, you might be like, tell me everything and I'll help you. So I'm not really sure because, again, I think it's usually 50-50. We hear some people that are like, I would turn my kid in, and other people that are like, I'd go down with my kid. So I just don't know what their relationship is yet to say this, but I feel like the more we look at like his discords and all the other things where we can see him interact with people, he seems to speak about his mom more. So I'm curious, like, does his mom, would she know something maybe, or you know what I mean? I'm not sure.
Maybe.
And by meaning something, I just mean even that, Celeste was 13.
What do you think, Flojo?
Dr. Vona, you brought up a great point, right? When it comes to this case, I mean, we don't really hear so much about the father. We do know that he's a litigation consultant, right? And he specializes in collecting digital evidence, right? That's his forte. But yeah, you're right. His mom has been mentioned and talked about more. And there have been some photos that appear to have David's mom sitting on top of the balcony at the Fonda Theater, and right next to her is David's brother. They have Caleb, and then they have who appears to be Celeste, right? And then to the right of Celeste is David's little sister. So, I mean,
That's the one that we see we see her with like pink shorts or whatever, where she's like going behind the stage with the brother. Is that one?
That's supposed to be the same concert, yeah.
So yeah, then I mean, I feel like the brother. See, to me, I'm like the brother had to have known, but because he's younger than David, right? So he probably knows that Celeste is younger as well. Because this is my thing, you guys. It's one thing to pretend like you're 19 with an ID and to get away with it that way, because the person that's IDing you doesn't really get to know you. You know what I mean? But once you get to speak to a 12-year-old for so long, how long can a 12-year-old play off being 18 before you're like, something ain't right?
Off, yeah. That's a great question, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Asia too, and the fact that you brought up the whole IDs thing, right? There was a post that Asia actually admitted to putting up on Reddit yesterday, and there was a part in that post.
Can you tell people who Asia is real quick, just in case they don't know?
No, so Asia is one of David's close friends, or at least what appears to be one of his close friends, who has been basically, I want to say, like possibly an assistant, right? And she's been, she's come under a lot of public scrutiny in the past since since Celeste was discovered in that frunk. And recently, as of yesterday, I want to say it was yesterday, she came out publicly to put out a statement on Reddit. And, the kind internet, just kind of gave her a taste of how they feel. But there was one specific part in that post that she had put where she had mentioned she didn't even know her age, and she wanted to make sure. So what she did was she asked David, and he showed her IDs, multiple IDs. So the whole post
But
was
how many multiple IDs do you have that have your age on it? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's like your driver's license.
Why does he have them? Why
That
does he have
too.
them?
Yeah, right. That too. My other thing is, in that same post that she did, didn't she say that she only met her once? But don't we see like photos of her with her more than once?
There's no actual photos of them two in the same place.
Oh, I might be thinking of a different. Oh, I might be thinking of the other Celeste. My bad.
Celeste Herrera. Well,
Yes.
there is insinuation that on December 31st that they were all at David's house or the mansion in the Hollywood Hills. SF Investigates put out a tweet that basically showed David, what appears to be David, Neo, Celeste Herrera, who is one of the best friends of Asia Collins, and what looks like Celeste's hand holding a green bottle. And so in other photos that SF Investigates posted, you can see that it's soju, right? So what is a 13-year-old doing drinking alcohol? And somebody on Reddit had asked SF Investigates, if Celeste Herrera is there, isn't it, quite easy to assume that Asia is there as well? And SF Investigates said, I can confirm that she was there. I just decided not to use a picture with her in it, but she was there.
What about Neo? Was he around back then?
Well, he was in those photos that SF Investigates posted, yes.
Do you have those photos?
In the gang.
I definitely do somewhere. Let me grab them for you.
Wow, this is so crazy. Didn't they just tell us too that she was definitely dismembered, where before we were led to believe that maybe she wasn't?
There was a lot of back and forth, yeah, absolutely. But the court papers, the court documents, they state everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And there's some interesting aspects of it that I'm definitely going to want your opinion on. While you pull that up, I'm going to continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, good.
This goes on to say there's a certificate made on the purpose of being presented to the judge. Oh, so this also says that his father is staying in Texas, and they give an address. A lot of people are wondering where they're at. They're in Texas. And then let me go to where it's at. So this is where they identified David as a target and saying that he may be involved in having committed the following offenses against the state against the laws of the state of California, to wit, 1 count of murder. So they think they may be involved in committing the offense of murder, which is basically saying that they believe he's the person who is responsible for her life being taken. And when it comes to them asking for father, I wonder if there's phone calls or if there's text messages that they have around a certain time frame that is suspicious to law enforcement. Think of Brian Koberger when he was texting his father, calling his mom at 6 a.m, and calling dad at 6 a.m. I wonder if there's something like that around a specific time frame that is that is important to law enforcement, and which is why they want to speak with father. What were y'all talking about? What were y'all doing? You know, we show that, you know, his phone traveled to your house, etc., whatever the case may be. I wonder if that's the case. This goes on to say that it is alleged that the target may be involved in the death of 14-year-old victim Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who may be a victim of foul play. Her severely decomposed, dismembered body was found in the front trunk of the target's Tesla on September 8, 2025. And then it kind of goes into describe, you know, how they found her. We've gone through that a few times. They say that here it goes in, that when they opened the front storage compartment, detectives observed a black cadaver bag. I thought this was interesting because this wasn't a black trash bag. This wasn't a black bag. This wasn't something that you would just go find in your kitchen. This was a cadaver bag. Something that tells me he was maybe playing out a fantasy. Or maybe he just had them, you know, around because of his art that he does. What does it tell you, Dr. Vona, that he utilized a black cadaver bag to move her body?
That would tell me that this is part of like his personality type thing. So when you look at David, like in my opinion, when I look at his music and just the things, like all the interviews that I could see with him in them, even the way that he sings in his concerts and stuff, but what's his name? And Tommy, his character, and with the blood and all the stuff, he definitely, in my opinion, has like abandonment anxiety. He like idolizes like this romantic attachment style. And I don't know if he just is like afraid of rejection, if he doesn't have that many close relationships, or I know that once he got to high school, he was homeschooled, which he even says in a lot of his videos. He says like, this is my first Valentine's Day with someone, like, so he puts it out there. And he even says a lot of times he'll be like, I was homeschooled, I didn't get to like do this or that or the other thing. So I feel like with that became, in my opinion, a fear of rejection and this like identity diffusion with relationships, like this catastrophic thinking when it comes to love, over romanticizing attachments and stuff like that. And for me, it's more like, I feel like he was like emotionally overwhelmed. I don't know. Everything was like everybody else. It had to do with everybody else. Like he was very, in my opinion, manipulative, and he used things like Hello Kitty, which just happened to be her favorite things. You know what I mean? So I feel like, but that all goes back to identity, right? It's like, if I lose you, I lose myself type thing, but it's like so dramatic. And I see this, that would show me that's along the same lines of having a body bag, is the whole dramatics of it all, right? It's like authentic. It's like a body bag. It's not just like a suitcase or a trash bag or something. Like it fits it fits his fantasy of him being a Tommy, which means pain, right?
So, and I'll ask you this too, Flojo. The fact that it's a black cadaver bag and not something that you can pull off in the kitchen quickly or whatnot, does that scream to you some sort of planning, premeditation, a moment that he may have had planned and lived out?
I'm 100% right. I think that you're not going to walk into a pharmacy, right, or a supermarket and purchase a cadaver bag or like a bag at Target, right? You definitely will have to order that online. Whether he did it before or after her death, we don't know, right? But the fact that he actually had one, it's. I was reading that, and it said that there was one cadaver bag and then another black bag. So it doesn't specify also that the second bag was a cadaver bag. So, you know, I'm also wondering what type of bag was the other one, because when you go back and look at the Tesla photos, the aerial photos from KTLA, it looks like there's a garment bag. And if we remember what they put inside, they said that her arms and her legs were removed, placed in one bag. And then in a separate bag, her head and her torso were found as well. But does it scream premeditated to me? I absolutely think so, right? I've had
Yeah.
my fair share of usage with body bags because COVID was a crazy time, and I've experienced a lot of death during COVID. In the hospital, we use blue and white ones, so he's not getting them at the hospital. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it's more of a morgue, more of a, I don't know.
He probably was able to get it though, in all reality, due to his artistic. Like, if you think about it, if you look at his videos and stuff, he had, even at his concert, he had a casket.
Casket, yeah.
And he had like the whole funeral director look with people coming up, and they did like their, last respects and wrote letters to the casket. And so I feel like he could have gotten away with getting a body bag somehow by saying it was for artistic expression.
I mean, believe it or not, you can buy them on Amazon.
Oh, there you go.
Them. They have all different colors.
I think it's gonna. I think what's gonna be. I guess the focus point of this is going to be when did he purchase it? Was it before she possibly died? Was it afterwards that they suspect that she had passed? If it was beforehand, I would think that you would want to try to look into to see if there was any pre-planned usage for it. Was there a music video that they were going to use it in? Was there a photo shoot that they had planned? And if they didn't, and there was no photo shoot planned, there was no drawings or poster boards put up for a music video that implemented it, or any of those things, and it was purchased before she passed, then it makes you wonder, well, why was it purchased? Was it purchased with the intent that he was going to take her life and eventually use it? Which would scream premeditation to the max. I mean, that's part of his premeditation ordeal. Now, is it something that was after the fact? Now, did he go out there and purchase it afterwards? It's still kind of weird because, like, you would think that, if he committed a crime, and let's just say it was an accident, let's just say there was an argument, let's just say there was a bunch of things that could have happened that wasn't premeditated. For him then to order this and wait for it is kind of weird, right? For him to wait for it to have been delivered. So the third option is that he already had it, but it wasn't premeditated. He used it because he already had it with him. Well, again, it's going to come back to, did he have anything planned with it? And if he didn't, that's going to be hard I would sell to a jury like, hey, he had this, but he had every intention on using this for some sort of music video. Okay, well, what music video? What was the song? Where's the poster boards? Where are the plans? I mean, it's just weird that you go out there and you purchase the props for a video before you put it together, the plans for it.
I think that his fantasy and stuff, like, he's very careful in at least the ones I've seen of his interviews, where even in the one where he's talking about romantic homicide, he's like, in the back of my head, like, I would never do it, in the back of my head. Like, so I feel like he definitely thinks about things as far as like how it might look. So in my opinion, I think I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that he already had it for a music video, but that I feel like his music videos, although I do think part of it is like a little bit of like artistic exaggeration, I'm sure. But I also think that part of it is you have to think it up somehow, right? And he literally tells us that he does all of his lyrics and all of his stuff in the closet. So it's not that he has a team that's writing his songs for him. So this is all coming from his own thought process. And if you have to think it, right, to be able to create it and write it down. So even if it's not something that he planned to do at some point, I do think that he fantasizes, and maybe so much so that he eventually, like, as you start to get more popular, I mean, we were just talking about parasocial relationships earlier. Think about all the parasocial relationships that were going on there. And the thing is, he's very, very manipulative and charming, like, in my opinion. So they're the behavior patterns that I see there. So if you look at things like his discords and how he responds to people that follow him, he says things that are going to like hook them almost, which then builds that parasocial relationship where they feel like we know him. But he plays into that. He even says in like a video, like he would release things to his Discord, like on purpose, like things like that. So I think he's very, very intentional. What do you think, Flajo?
Well, Before I answer that, I do want to kind of just go back to the cadaver bag, right? I want to remind everybody that there were other items that were found at the house, right? There was a burn cage, there were chainsaws,
Incinerator.
gas masks, right? The incinerator. They were ordered under a fake name. I went back and watched the Nancy Grace video and said that it was ordered to another person who didn't live at the house, right? So I want to know, was it ordered to an actual real person? Because they use the term fake name, right? But what was the timeline of when those items were delivered? Were they all ordered and delivered around the same time, right? Those are some of the questions that I would love to hear the answers to. I personally believe that incinerator was sent close to the beginning of the year 2025, like in around January. And one of the reasons why he wasn't able to utilize it was because of the wildfires that we had out here that kind of shut all of his plans down. If he was, going to use it.
Why would you have it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And purchasing them online using a gift card,
Koberger did that, right, Daniel? And he didn't think he'd get back to him.
He did. So did Rex Huberman used gift cards to purchase burner phones so that he could harass his victims' family members. And that caught him too. Now, this says here that the detectives observed a black cadaver bag with insects and a strong odor of decay. Utilizing black latex gloves, they partially unzipped the bag and observed a decomposed head and torso. Upon removing the cadaver bag from the front storage, it was discovered the arms and legs had been severed from the body. A second black bag was discovered underneath the cadaver bag. Upon opening the second bag, the dismembered body parts were discovered. So it seems like all of her body parts were in there, but they were in two separate bags. Now, it says that the cadaver bag had to be unzipped. It doesn't necessarily say that the second bag needed to be unzipped or not, but doesn't use that terminology. Makes it kind of allude that it wasn't the zip up kind, but it could be. I mean, I could be going a little bit too literal with that terminology there. But to me, it kind of screams like one cadaver bag with the zip and with a zipper, and one probably like a huffy black trash bag. What do you think?
Probably, but I'll never forget the first time I ever saw a body bag in real life. And it literally reminded me of a hefty trash bag with a zipper. That's all I could remember. So to me, I feel like I could totally see that, because that's what I've always pictured it as. What do you think, Flago?
I think that second bag was a garment bag. And I just keep thinking of that aerial shot from KT.
Oh, like a duffel bag?
You know those garment bags that you hang your suit in when you're traveling? Because there's a part on the aerial photo, and that's the only photo that we have of the front that's open. It looks like there's a potential like plastic pocket where you'd put the receipt, after it's pressed. So that's why I keep thinking and going back to, is this a garment bag?
Ooh, that's interesting.
And then Dan, I sent you the tweet from SF in the private chat and on Discord.
Yes, I got it on the private chat. Okay, so it says here on December 31st, 2024 at around 10 p.m., several people were at David's house. Although Celeste Rivas is not clearly visible in any of the photos of that evening, we believe she was present. The iPhone she had previously been pictured with appears to match the phone in the case on the table, along with a Hello Kitty mug. Another photo, which appears to have been taken by David, shows what are likely Celeste's fingers on a bottle. The phone that is likely Celeste appears to be on the Wi-Fi settings screen and connected to the Wi-Fi network. Even though the iPhones use a private Wi-Fi address feature, the address remains fixed for a specific network, meaning it stays the same each time that the device reconnects to that router. Hopefully, law enforcement investigators have reviewed the router logs to determine exactly when Celeste's phone and everyone else's phones were connected to that home's Wi-Fi network, and compared that information against the statement each person provided about when they were at the house and who else was there, including Celeste. I mean, that's, awesome work you should be doing. I hope they're doing that. If the individuals in the photos, including these photos and many others, claim they did not see Celeste or were not at the house, yet the router logs show their phones were connected to the Wi-Fi, that would raise serious questions. Cannot forget that Celeste, or the justice that she deserves, has now been more than 5 months and no charges have been filed. Last photo of Celeste is not from that night. It's from another time, meant to show her phone to compare with the phone on the table. And so there's the phone on the table here. It's kind of hard to see, for me at least. And those are the fingers that they're assuming is Celeste. Phone.
Oh, that's definitely her, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that photo is just to compare the actual phone to the one that's on the table.
Gotcha. Yeah. Look at this. That's so interesting. I don't know. Neo, the way he looks at him.
And he was arrested, right?
He was.
Now, what was his arrest for?
He was arrested in Montana on January 23rd for failure to appear.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And are you aware if he's, I guess, spoken yet?
TMZ caught him outside of the courthouses. I can't remember exactly what date it was. I want to say maybe about 9-10 days later, he was seen exiting out of the LA courthouses. TMZ caught up to him, asked him a few questions. What do they ask? The crazy part about that, though, the very, very odd part was that he was only up there for about 30 or 40 minutes before he walked out of the court or the courthouse entirely.
Maybe he pled the fifth.
I mean, he either pled the fifth or he confirmed everything that the DA wanted to know. But we're not going to know anything until this potentially goes to trial.
When did he go?
I can't, let me get the date. I don't have the date right off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in the chat would know.
It's been a minute though.
I want to say, he got arrested January 23rd. I want to say close to first week of February.
See, it's been a month now. I would assume that if he gave him something good, you would. I'm surprised they haven't arrested this dude for a number of things.
They're starting to cover it on mainstream media. Somebody said in chat earlier that it's on CNN. So that's interesting because that'll probably bring more light to it, right? Like once mainstream media starts picking it up more.
Well, a funny thing that funny you say that, and going back to TMZ too, surprisingly, TMZ has not said a single word on the recent release of these court documents. And they're normally the first ones to report on this. I found it very odd. They have said absolutely nothing. So is there a narrative being controlled or spun?
I'm sure.
February 4th.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm surprised. I thought mainstream media was already covering this.
They have been, but it's been TMZ who surprisingly said absolutely nothing. And they're usually the ones to, break stories, Yeah.
I should have corrected myself a little bit. So it was on like News Nation and on TMZ, but now it's like being covered on like CNN type news, stuff like that. And so I just think it's just interesting because people aren't letting it go. So hopefully that makes somebody, be held accountable for this because obviously we need justice for Celeste.
Now, Floja, do you think that if David did this, that he had help?
I absolutely believe that he had help. Absolutely. And, when it comes to her being dismembered, there have been photos that SF Investigates posted about the knives that he loves to display. I don't think that David's only 5'1", maybe 120 pounds. I mean, for him to do this all by himself, just, I don't know. I don't buy it.
Right.
He's only 5'1". I thought he was short, but I didn't know he was that short. I'm like almost 5 foot. That's really short for a guy.
Yeah, he is.
That just made so many connections for me in my head.
If I'm not mistaken, he was shorter than Celeste.
Wow. Psychologically, that just interesting.
I mean, another part that we've been told too is that they believe that there's a second suspect who participated before, during, and after the death of Celeste. But we right now we don't know who that second possible suspect is.
Well, this is the thing. Didn't the private investigator say that Neo was the one that dropped the car off?
So actually,
Because
yesterday,
if that's the case, they said that it smelled. So how, like, that would mean to me that, or say to me that Neo had to know something. He said something like he had the window down and stuff.
so there have been speculations about who potentially drove the Tesla on the very last day on July 29th. There's been a back and forth, people saying Rob did it, Neo did it, David did it. But in fact, SF Investigates went on News Nation last night with Jesse Weber, and he had mentioned, and I don't know if this was just a slip of the tongue, but he basically said that, you know, David was not the person who moved the Tesla. We know that for sure. And that was not something we publicly knew. You know, we had all assumed that maybe David could have done it, but he confirmed it last night that David wasn't the one who moved it. So that kind of, you know, leaves a couple other people to question, was it actually Neo? Could it have been his manager, Rob? If it wasn't David, then who could it have been? Somebody moved it.
That's
Well,
interesting.
the investigator, when I watched him talk about it, he said that right after they parked the vehicle, they got right on the tour bus and left. And the only people that were on the tour bus were David, Neo, and that girl. I don't know which girl it was. Do you?
That was Asia Collins, yeah.
Gotcha. So have they talked to her? You know what I mean? Oh, she's the one that's writing with the...
On Reddit. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there was also a possibility that, you know, he and Neo could have moved it without her knowing too. So I do want to say that. I'm like thinking, I always try to play devil's advocate. And for her, at least, I mean, there is a possibility that she could have showed up to go on tour with them an hour before and had no idea what was going on. So I don't want to like make it look like I think she did anything wrong. Or any of them, because they're all innocent until proven guilty.
People in the chat are screaming, Neo did it.
I really thought that I heard the investigator say that it wasn't Neo, because at first he wasn't saying who it was, but he said that he knew. And then after, I swore he said that it was Neo and that he was wearing a shirt that was very like detectable or something.
Well, he's called out Neo, you know, publicly on social media. He's asked, was it Neo on Twitter or X? And yesterday, in the tweet that he put up yesterday, where he was just very angry, he literally called Neo by his first, middle, and last name. And, you know, somebody only does that when they're really pissed off at you, right?
What did he say? What was the contents behind calling him his first, middle, and last name?
Just simply asking, you know, like, well, was it you? Was it not you? And I believe that SF Investigates already knows who actually moved it, right? I don't think
somebody said in the chat that they said it was that they have Ring camera footage, SF, and that they said it was it's somebody wrote, I already know it was Neo. And again, you guys, this is alleged. None of us are saying this for sure, just so that people know that. I don't want anybody to give us hate. That somebody said that I just lost it. I already know it was Neo. SF has Ring camera footage. I don't know anything about that, but I was just reading what someone wrote.
So something, you know, I hate to jump back around really, really fast, but I do want to say this real quick about the case we were talking about earlier with Nancy Guthrie. So Steve, CSI investigator, he sent me a text message saying that he's done a comparison of all points of light, shadow, and the Guthrie, the two images of the offender. When overexposed implies the same night, unless all neighborhood lights are in the same way in every light. Basically, he overlapped the lights and the shadows that you can see in both, and everything overlaps perfectly. Wow. And so he believes it's the same night. And maybe perhaps and we'll get more into it on another time, but if it ends up being the same night, at some point he takes the gun out of in front of him and takes the backpack off and gets in front of that camera, which would be interesting.
Very.
Great point, right? I mean, who knows if what he did at first was just try to cover himself up from being seen on camera, go inside, do what he needed to do, come back around later after backpack and pistol have been removed, and then remove the camera.
Yeah, don't know, but I just wanted to say that before we forget about it. That'll probably be something. Yeah, that'll be something that we'll, once I get that overlay, we'll talk more in depth about it. Sorry about that, but to get back to David case, how long do you think it'll be before we get an arrest, Flojo? We'll start off with you. You've been covering this case closely. I am on the point where I thought that it should have happened by now, but hey, we're here. We are where we are.
I think that makes you and possibly everybody else in this chat, this should have happened, the day that they found out he was connected to, the body that was found. It was his car. Do I think there's going to be an arrest? I hope so. I really hope so. It's been 6 months since we've had anything. Mainstream media has barely started covering this, especially now that the Nancy Guthrie case has been kind of taken over media. But I am glad to see that there are things happening behind the scenes. There was speculation about the grand jury even being a real thing. Now we know that there is one. There's a case number against the state of California and David Anthony Burke. We can only hope, though. So I'm hoping that they said that they have witnesses lined up to testify all throughout the month of February. That ends tomorrow. So I'm hoping that we get what we want. And that's just an arrest coming soon.
I can't believe it's about to be March.
I agree. Well, guys, we're getting a little long on the tooth. Is there anything else that you guys want to add before we let everybody go?
No, I know. I think we did a good job covering everything.
I think so too. I want to say thank you guys for joining. I have both channels linked in the description. The Minds Behind True Crime for Dr. Vona, Flojo TV for Flojo. If you're watching this on their channel and you want to
we have the same exactly. Same thing.
DT Drunk Turkey Show. That's where you'll find me if you're watching this on X. I know we have like 300 people watching on X. If you want to come over to YouTube and follow and subscribe, we totally would truly appreciate it. Update on Mexico. I haven't seen anything new recently, but I've been out of the news for the last few days. I've been dealing with some medical stuff, so I'm back in it now. But I'll get some updates here pretty soon on that. Before I let you guys go, what do you guys have lined up where people can find you? We'll start off with you, Dr. Vona.
So, since you asked, I'm so not tired right now. So I'm like, I started doing Google Trends while I was waiting for you guys to come on. I was just bored sitting there on the Nancy Guthrie case, and I feel like I need to share some of the things that I found. So I wouldn't do a long live, but I might go live in like 10 minutes just to share what I found.
I'll be in the live chat. Chat. And Flojo, when are you going live again?
What's today? Today's Friday. I'll probably be on tomorrow. You guys can find me at Flojo TV. I do have a show called Filling in the Gaps. We try to do it at least 3 times a week. So if you guys want to follow me there, Flojo TV. That's where we're at.
Daniel, what do you have next?
I'll be doing a members live on Sunday, guys. And so unless something breaks in the next, tomorrow, I'll be doing the Sunday members only. And then on Monday, we'll be going back on our daily. I haven't done it for the last 2 days. Like I said, I've been dealing with some medical stuff here, but back on the grind on the morning to go, true crime to go. So if you guys haven't been watching that,
I'm loving that. I really am. I think it's like so good. I look forward to it actually. So good job on that. I really do like that new segment of yours.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's every morning, just kind of touching on a couple of things that are in the news. on cases that we're talking about. I've talked about Brian Koberger, talked about the cartel stuff in Mexico. I've talked about Nancy Guthrie, David Case, so also the Epstein files. And so go check it out. I think the Epstein files is also something else I'm going to be covering. So if that's something that interests you, come follow me. We'll talk about it.
Dan, can I just give a shout out to
go ahead
my members of the inner circle and,
yes.
and everybody that supported the channel today. You guys have been amazing. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Yes, 100%. We had a lot of great content, a lot of great support throughout the entire night. So thank you guys. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Y'all have a great night, and I'll be back on Sunday unless something breaks. Until then, guys, peace out. Bye.
Bye, you guys.